So let's give Madison a hand. Yay!
Thank you so much. Okay, going to share my screen. Can you all see that? Okay. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Well, hi everyone. Quick introduction on me. Well, actually, no, you already said that. Yeah, there you go. Then quick introduction on my mentor, Chuck Grieve. Chuck is a professor at here at Cal State, obviously. He's a professor of animation and an amazing person. Chuck and I both are incredibly fascinated by VR, and I'm just incredibly grateful that I've had the opportunity to work under him on this project. So start off, my goal for this project was basically to understand virtual reality and find any advantages it may have as a storyboarding tool in, for example, a 3D animation production pipeline. So think not like a VR short film, but like a Pixar or Disney, something you'd see, you know, on a screen. So why Quill? Quill is the primary tool that I use for this project, and a part of this project was a lot of research, a lot of contacting professional artists, and from what I found, you know, Quill has a robust animation timeline. It's got superior tools and artistic tools for, you know, creators, and from multiple artists that I've spoken with, the tools just kind of feel and work better. Quill also handles big scenes better, so artists don't have to worry about crashing. And then other programs similar to Quill, like NMVR, compared to like NMVR, Quill has, you know, specific brushes and specific tapering tools and stuff like that, which allows it to be a much more seamless, you know, process for artists. Okay, so getting started with VR, you know, drawing in virtual reality is extremely different from drawing on paper, where you have that tactile surface, you know, that pushback, that resistance, where you can control your line art. So I'm going to share a quick video and jump through just to save time. But these are some practices that I did in Oculus Quill just to start out right at the start, to figure out, okay, what is this tool that I'm getting into? What is the process? What's the, you know, the interface? How am I going to, you know, figure this out? And I kind of solve problems by creating problems for myself, not intentionally, of course, but, you know, I made things more complicated than they needed to be. And I learned a lot about, simplifying. And yeah, just trying to make things as simple as possible. This is another scene. It's like a little jungle temple or something like that. And then this next one is like a treehouse. So this, for example, this is not a great scene because it's got a lot of geometry, a lot of strokes, which take up a lot of data. So that was just working more efficiently. I learned through these, you know, initial explorations. And then cut into the next one. This one was more of a practice of seeing what the integration of 3D models and line art, you know, what that relationship looks like. Because, you know, line art from one angle looks great, but from another, when it's in 3D, it doesn't always hold up. So knowing that, you know, drawn storyboards is all about line quality, that was something that, you know, I tried to practice. And this was just had like a treehouse thing with some minimal animation. And then from these initial explorations, I started to create these things called quillustrations. And basically they're the same kind of thing, minimal animation, and just to test out the animation timeline and the camera features in VR. So it's mostly just a loop, just animation and stuff, some guy on a plane. I don't know how he's standing up there, but you know, you can use your imagination. And then after that was some concept art also. That always helped to make some concept art before actually visualizing it in virtual reality. And then this is another illustration in the same nature, kind of a loop kind of thing. I'll let it play for a little bit. I don't know if you can hear the music or not. I forgot to share my audio, but oh well. Okay, you can. Awesome. So yeah, those are quill illustrations, and that really helped me understand the tool a lot better. And from there, I then went into doing storyboards. So these were the first storyboards I made there. Very short, and looking back, not the best, because I really struggled with that mixture of line art and 3D models, where these were, when I made them, they were very flat, and when you move the camera around, they didn't really hold up from all different angles. But over time, I think I learned some different techniques to kind of combat that issue in 3D, having an accurate size reference for the character and model, but also having expressions on them like storyboards would. This is another thing where I took on the left, made a storyboard in Photoshop and tried to recreate that in VR, but still is a struggle just figuring out how to make these models quick, because storyboarding is a very fast-paced kind of a thing where you want to get things done as quickly as possible. And then I started making character models with very minimal line art. So it's mostly on the face for expressions, and then on the body for clothing details and stuff like that. But mostly just character models that are posable. And this section of a short little storyboard really helped me to break through that issue. And then from there, I went to explore three primary storyboards. They're larger. They're around like 100 panels each. And I'll click through this really quick. So as you can see, this follows like a little flower sack character. And this is a model where you can take it and move certain sections and pose it around, that kind of thing. And that's what I learned is, at least in my experience, a really a great solution where you still have line art, so it's not lifeless like previs models would be, and you can add expressions and draw, and it's a very artistic process where you don't have to get caught up in a lot of technical stuff. And something you might notice here is that the camera is very shaky. You see it moves very slightly, and that wasn't intentional. At the time, unfortunately, Quill did not have a good camera feature where it was all handheld, and that was a big challenge for me as I was learning in this tool. But spoiler alert, they eventually fixed it. And this is the second storyboard. So this one's the longest, so I just put it in this way. But as you can see, these are those fully posable characters, and you can have more of a range of expressions here. But it's not perfect. I was still learning at the time, and I still am. But I think this storyboard was where I really broke through and started to understand it. This was the third storyboard, and this was my favorite of the three because I really began to understand what it is, what it is to work in VR. And this is where Quill updated those camera features. So as you can see, there's no slight movements, which is, super beneficial. And as you'll see after this board, I have a few pictures, and you can do camera moves like that, smooth camera moves. Amazing. It was so much fun working in this. And I also, tried to make simpler models, which were more, easily posable. And just gonna click through this real quick. And this is just like castle, top of the hill, and that's it. Okay, so really quick, back to my presentation. These are some images of like the process. So you can see here in the middle bottom, that's like what the camera looks like. And they've got a grid there, which really is helpful for composition, for eye tracking. And you can also draw out arcs of movement, as you see on the bottom left and right, or a path. And for storyboard artists, that's super helpful to help plan out, how you're going to move everything. And you don't need to draw like a layout map and like you would on paper. You can have it all in just one system. And you can even draw like a 180-degree line to maintain screen direction. And then on the top, this is like a process where you can draw really rough thumbnails in VR to get, those expressions, that, that strong line of action. And then you break down the model in these movable parts, and you pose them one by one. And that, if you see it looks like a ghost of her character, I have that there to maintain size relationship, which can be difficult in drawing because it's not always accurate. But here you can have your characters, and if you have multiple characters, you can have that to see what is the size relationship between them, and making sure your poses are accurate. And then you end up with something like that. And this is just a quick view of the camera setups, and all of that. These are advantages. Not going to go over all of them. Don't want to get too nitty gritty. But in my honors book, I do plan on, explaining these more with pictures and examples. And getting to the end, even though this project is, technically over, I feel like I'm just starting to understand, what this is, and I'm just getting started. And I'm so excited to continue to storyboard in VR, especially with Quill's new camera features. It's just super, super exciting. These are some resources. Part of my project was a lot of YouTube University, finding out how to make this project work and how to work in VR. And just want to thank again my mentor Chuck for inspiring me to do this, and just all of your insight and resources and help and guidance through this. And then these three artists are VR artists I was in constant contact with. And if you're interested in learning more about this, like, you can always feel free to contact me as well. And that is the end. Thank you so much.
Okay, unmute. Thank you very much. That was really cool.
Thank you.
Well, let's give a big hand to all of our presenters today for these wonderful honors projects that we're very fortunate to be able to share with all of you. So we do have time for questions. And if you want to ask a question, if you could please use the raise hand feature, because I'm not a good multitasker to monitor the chat. So either just raise your hand or use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and I'll call on you. And then we can see if anyone has questions for any of the presenters, or just general questions. And nobody's moving. Okay, Sandra.
Question for Brenda and for Sai. I'm really blown away and humbled by your bravery as artists, as people. And could you talk a little bit about that? What was your journey in getting to a place where you as artists, as people, were willing to share, right, your stories, your amazing stories?
Well, on my part, it definitely took a lot of years to actually be able to speak out about issues. And this happened like when I was a kid and stuff. So like my family was like very conservative, like from my mother's side. And since I was staying with them, it was very hard to speak out and ask for help within them. But then once the truth came out, it was very hard to still, I don't know why, it's very like shunned for like therapists and stuff. So it took a lot of like me being quiet, and then finally being able to trust friends to be able to tell them, like this happened. And then instead of like, I expected totally different coming from like a family that was very conservative, to be like, don't say anything, to having like friends that'll be like, it's okay. Like you should speak up and you should tell others, because you can inspire others. And so it was really like getting in contact with like people that also went through it. And then once I told, like when I started being more open about my story, I was hearing other people tell me their stories. And I was like their first people for them to tell me things. And I was like, damn, because I'm being open with them, they now feel safe enough to tell me their stories, which they weren't able to do before. So after seeing that ripple effect, I was like, why am I holding it back? If I hold it in, then it has more power over me than if I am able to speak out. So during the process of making this presentation and this project, it was very hard. Sometimes I did have to like close down the laptop and like, go to a peace mind state, to where I can like just meditate and reflect on everything. So it was a lot of like typing and then going off and kind of seeing, because it did impact a lot, seeing other people, and so many other people sadly seeing and feeling the same way. So it was very hard to finish this project, but at the same time, I hope that it has an impact, as my friends did for me, my close relatives did for me, to be an outlet. And I hope this inspires them to go find their outlets. So that was my process.
In my process, I've been doing theater since I was in elementary school, but I wasn't writing or technical design or anything. I was acting on stage. But then I reached a point in high school where I was getting typecasted as like the funny gay side character. And I really didn't want to do that anymore. And it was my senior year of high school where I was again, I had reached my point with being the funny gay side character. And I said I wasn't going to act anymore because that's not what I wanted to do. But then when I came to Fullerton, I signed up to major as playwriting on a whim because I used to write stories when I was little, but then I stopped. But then really, I wanted to write stories and characters that don't push the gay character to the side as just like the comedic side character. I wanted that to be the main point, like the story, the driving force for the character to be there. And there aren't a lot of modern plays that explore sexuality. Like I wrote it in my research paper, but the most recognized gay play like in America is Angels in America. And that was a play that came out 30 plus years ago. So I want to write stories that resonate with the queer community today and the struggles that we are facing today. And that it is my hope that after graduating here and then working in the industry for a while, that, I'll be able to set up a writing center for queer and minority stories to get their spotlight. So that was my process.
Thank you for your honesty and for your bravery. It's really amazing and humbling. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions? We still have some time. Maribel.
Hi, thank you so much, and congratulations to everyone. Sorry I couldn't get the reactions to work, so using my other skill, my hand. Okay, so my question is, Madison, with the difficulties of COVID and something that traditionally you would be doing in person, for you, did you learn any skill sets that are soft other than the tools, but anything maybe yourself based on this project? So I've noticed there's a different type of humanity that we've grown into different virtual worlds. So I'm curious about your mindset on that.
That's a good question. Thanks, Maribel. I would say in terms of this project, it was kind of the same as it was like back when things were in person, because I just worked on my headset like at home. But definitely as I just continued in this project, I think time management was a really big lesson I learned, because just as I mentioned before, storyboarding is a very quick process. You want to get things done as quickly as possible. So there was a struggle of wanting to do that, but also at the same time learning an entirely new tool. But I think just also, Dr. Perez's lectures and stuff on time management, scheduling everything when I was taking those, honors classes a while back, that really helped as well. And same thing with Chuck as my mentor. There were some times when I was like, hey, how do you manage your time? This project's a lot. And he gave me a lot of great advice on how to combat that, and, scheduling out, taking setting out, I'm going to work on this for this many hours. And once I'm done, I'm going to move on. Even if it's not done, it's more freeing to kind of, have something, a chunk done, than to either procrastinate or, it's like budgeting your time. So it was learned a lot on that aspect, if that answers, hopefully.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else have questions? Yes, and yet the old-fashioned way of just waving your hand, that works too. Anybody else have questions? All right, well, if there are no more questions, I'll turn it back to Dr. Perez and let her wrap this up.
Thank you. I just want to note that we have 2 other graduating honor students in this group today, Melinda and Cindy. So congratulations to them as well. They completed their senior honors project previously in the winter. So happy to see you here as well. And what can I say? Your work is amazing for our 3 panelists. It's inspiring. Sai, I don't know if you can share with us at what time the presentation was this evening.
Yeah, so it'll be premiering tonight at 7 o'clock.
Okay, at 7. Thank you. So if anyone would like to join, please do. In the past, when we've been on campus, we've attended plays written by our honor students, or other types of events. So it's, we can't do it in person, but if you can support virtually, that will be great. Just want to congratulate you all. Thank you, Dr. Stein, for moderating the session, and thank you to all of our attendees for supporting our students, and thank you all for your hard work. And I'm so happy to see, the learning, the growth, and best wishes to all of you. Our conference does continue tomorrow, 10 a.m. So please, you are all invited to join us again tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.